Why is your volume so low?
Is my volume low?
Oh, there, it's better.
I wasn't, talking directly into
Oh,
the mic, so
I didn't have the camera up. Yeah. I was like, what the
yeah,
hell? I thought I did something.
you did.
Shit. Shit. Hey, buddy. What's going on?
Not much. What's up with you?
Just reading news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything good in the news?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that dropped, like, in the last few days. Well,
That's
last
good.
week or so, because of, like, Star Wars Celebration was happening. HBO, Warner Brothers Media decided to just fucking drop every little bit of news they had about the new streaming service that everyone was fearing about. So if you don't know, HBO Max and Discovery Plus are merging into a streaming baby, now known as Max.
Yep.
It's a super terrible name because it's very unbranded.
It very is.
Like if you would have called it like Warner Max or Warner Brothers Max or any of that, it's fine. Like even keeping the HBO Max name would be fine.
Keep one of them. At least somebody has an idea of what it is.
Yeah, if you just say
Look,
Max,
it's
it's like
HBO stuff I'm looking for, and it happens to have Warner Brothers stuff in it too. Cool.
yeah, it's just a terrible decision. By I'm guessing a marketing manager somewhere said, "Hey, why don't we just simplify and call it Max?" It's like, how about we don't?
The amount of marketing that you're going to have to put into just letting people know it's called Max now.
Yeah, like you build up such a brand, right? Just like HBO and Discovery, like they're big brands.
Yeah.
Just to eliminate all of that and just call it Max. Like,
Yeah.
bro, dude, come on. Whatever though. So they announced a bunch of stuff. I sent some stuff yesterday to the group. There are a few things. I didn't send everything up there to the group. So the big ones are these. So they are. Well, this article puts it in a weird order, but I think this is the order they released them in. So the first is a Game of Thrones prequel series called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight. It's a very long title, but it's also the title of the book, and it may change by the time the show comes out. But it is set in the Targaryen controlled kingdom, and is about a knight and his squire, essentially. That Joe, did you ever read that one?
I'm trying to remember as you talk. I don't think I did. The only prequel I remember reading was like the first volume of that weird.
Oh,
It was
the
more like a history book rather than an actual book of Westeros. I can't remember.
Blood
what
and
it's called.
Fire,
Yeah, that sounds right.
right? Yeah, the history of the
Yeah,
Targaryen family or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah. Uh, I think it's excellent. So they did mention uh, the knight in question, that is the Hedge Knight. He's actually mentioned in Game of Thrones. So it's more of a throwaway line. So Duncan Egg are the characters. It's Sir Duncan and his Squire Egg. They are essentially pivotal roles in it. So Hedge Knight, for everyone who doesn't know what a Hedge Knight is in the Game of Thrones world, because I don't think it's a term used anywhere else. I think it's basically just a George R. R. Martin thing. Is a knight that does not have a proper kingdom or an upbringing. So he's a knight that was brought in and made by somebody, by a lesser lord, I believe. So Sir Duncan the Tall is the knight's name, and then Aegon Targaryen, or Egg, is his squire. So if you don't know who Aegon the Fifth Targaryen is, he's a very important character later on in the events of A Song of Ice and Fire. But it is essentially the story of them going across Westeros and basically being a hedge knight and his squire. So
Fair enough. Pretty straightforward.
yeah, it's a really good book if you're into um, the Game of Thrones world. I highly recommend it. It's pretty rad.
I was looking for a new book a couple days ago, and I think I ran across it, but it just didn't feel like reading a fantasy book right now.
Yeah, I mean it's a and George, obviously we both enjoyed Game of Thrones, but they're very dense books.
Yeah, that too.
And it does not let you down when it comes to the density of it. So just know that if you go to jump into it, you're going to be pretty heavily involved in it. Let's see what else. Oh, millennials spend more time playing video games than Gen Z and teens. Duh. Where is my list of stuff? Here it is. Then the big one that has a lot of people happy and a little angry is the Harry Potter TV show. So the happy part is the fans of the books. That I'm not gonna say there's fans of the books that aren't fans of the movies. There probably are. There's not a lot of them because universally, it's known that the book fans are very big fans of the movies because they did a very good job for the most part. Obviously there's some trimming involved in there, but that's not the part that I'm actually talking about because you think, oh, the purists are fucking happy that there's finally a TV show. Yes, they are because it's gonna basically be at least 7 or 8 seasons confirmed. It's been ordered 2 series by Max. And it is every season is going to be 1 book. So first book, second book, third book, all of it is down. And the reason it says or 8 because book 7 is extremely long and they may cut it in half like they did the movies. That is not confirmed. That is a speculation by whoever wrote most of the articles that I saw on the internet. But they did say it's going to be a 10-year long process for it. So if you think you're doing math wrong, you're not. It is 10 years because they probably have a lot of pre-production they have to go through before they really get one of the seasons off the ground. Because, there's a lot to it. There's a shit ton of cast you have to cast, as well as a place to put it. Like, what I mean? I'm going to guess because HBO has invested, Warner Brother has invested a ton of money into volume. I'm going to guess a lot of this is going to be shot on volume stages, which has worked out a lot for very many shows and things like that. So I'm going to guess a lot of that's going to be volume sets and things like that. But they are saying it's going to be one of the most expensive shows to date, according to what I read on the internet, because of the expansive world that is it, but also the amount of people you have to have if you're going to do the in-depth run of the books. There are hundreds of characters and varying timelines throughout the books that you have to worry about. Plus, if it's a 10-year thing, you have to worry about your cast aging.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you go with older actors for some of the older characters, because obviously we know what happened with the Harry Potter movies is we lost a Dumbledore in the midst of filming, or midst of the film, so they recast him, obviously. So little things like that, there's going to be a lot. So it's a 10-year journey we're going to go on that will basically be all new cast, and we'll, like I said, focus on 1 book per season with an in-depth world-expanding view. No stone unturned, as some would say. The part that's gonna piss people off, there are gonna be purists that say, "Oh, what about the original Harry?" Whatever. But J.K. Rowling is involved. So if everybody doesn't know, J.K. Rowling is not a huge fan of the trans community apparently, and has made some statements. Even though her book is full of like people who literally transform. So not too sure what that is, but anyways, so there's a lot of people who are boycotting everything Harry Potter right now. There's a lot of people boycotted the Hogwarts Legacy game we talked about on here a few weeks back. So there will be those people, but there are not enough of those people out there to stop HBO from doing what they need to do. And she's right now she's listed as executive producer, just because she owns the IP. So if they want to adapt the book versus just trying to lengthen out the movies, they have to have her involved somehow, because I don't think they're gonna have enough money to buy that franchise from her.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty interesting that we're getting a full-on remake of the books.
yeah. So
I know you mentioned that you have to take into consideration the age of the older actors, but I mean just the younger actors as well. Because I've never actually read the books, so I don't know where the age of like Harry starts and Harry ends. So I can imagine that there are going to be some, if you want to stick relatively close to the books, there's going to have to be some times where you like hurry up and make the next season before your characters age out of that season.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the crazy, so the real crazy thing about this, like besides like the technical things and the whole acting thing, is there's a lot of, how do I put this? There's a lot of plot driven things that happen that are side stuff that's gonna, like I said, jump around, but like not just like timeline, but like at the same time, stuff like happening outside of like the because the movies essentially just sit on Harry the entire time,
right?
Because obviously Harry Potter, you know, obviously the name of it. But the books, there's a lot of it that go away. Like it's all centered around Harry still, right? But there's a lot of telling of stories that, like, because you haven't read the books, of characters' pasts that are given to Harry through the memory thing, and as well as jumping around. So there's a lot of that they skip in the books because of time, or I mean in the movies because of the time.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they do that with the show, because there'll be, I'm gonna guess, whole episodes where the core cast isn't in them, but you're gonna have a younger version of like Dumbledore, and I'm mostly getting to the part, I'm talking about the parts where they later in the, I can't remember what book it is, I think it's 3. They give you a backstory of Dumbledore and his past with a certain wizard that pops up in another franchise, or another part of the franchise. And there's going to be a lot. We don't have details. I don't know how much they're going to go into it, because a lot of it is material found in supplement books, companion books that talk about it. Because there's references to characters. Grindelwald is the one I'm talking about. That they're talked about in the books, but they're not detailed in the books. They're detailed in other things outside of the Fantastic Beast movies. And the fact that like Dumbledore is essentially responsible for the death of his sister. Her death was at the hands of Grindelwald, but it was because Dumbledore and Grindelwald were having an actual magic fight with I can't think of his brother's name right now, and an errant spell went and hit her. It was deflected off, and it struck her and it killed her. So there's little things like that like, it's gonna be interesting to see how they tackle it, and if they actually go forward with it, that sort of stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's a pretty big undertaking, and they've said they're fully invested. So I mean, at that point, you really have to be. You can't kind of like hey, let's try this out, and if it works, it works. Like, you have to go in full bore because there's a ton of people, of characters that are mentioned, seen, but not heard from in the first book, that, especially the first book, because the first book is this introduction, and then by the time you get to the second book, the world, like, quadruples in size. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the third book, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, there's so much more, and, like, it's going to be pretty interesting, like, how they do it, because it's going to be a streaming service show, so the rating doesn't really matter, but it's going to be pretty borderline TV MA.
Okay. Because
of the violence that happens. And it's all wizardry magic, so it's not like people are like, well, there are some, like, but it's gonna be interesting because there's a lot of on-screen death that is not so much in the first movies, but in the later ones, or books. I mean, especially when the Voldemort war begins, there's a lot of just bodies littered everywhere. Anyhow, so that's Harry Potter as it's referred to now. It's just Harry Potter. But yeah, so pretty interesting thing there. Next up would be The Sympathizer, is a new comedy spy series starring Robert Downey Jr.
Cool.
It's very mean to say that because he is in it, and he probably does play a very large role in it, but it's actually not about his character, so it's kind of a shitty way to sum up that show. But it's basically a show set during the Vietnam War where a spy becomes like a double agent, and he's half Filipino and half Vietnamese and half something else. I can't remember what the story I read or the article I read about it, and I couldn't find it this morning because I don't think I found it on Apple Music or Apple News. I found it somewhere else. But he is a suspected spy and all this other stuff. You have to watch the trailer to kind of understand more of it. But Robert Downey Jr. is an American spy who is trying to turn him into a double agent to work for us while working for them, if you know what I mean.
Gotcha.
Yep.
For a second there, I thought you were saying that Robert Downey Jr. was playing the guy who was half Filipino.
No, he's not going to do that again.
I was like, that's not going to work in this day and age.
No, that'd be very bad.
Yeah,
we can't do that. Next up is The Conjuring. It's again a working title. So this is a series based on the horror film series. Is reportedly being developed by HBO Max for Max. Because again, HBO Max is still a thing. It's just under the umbrella of Max. So it's so confusing. Anyways, it is early talk still. We don't know the story. We just know that it's evolving the Warren universe, as some would say, and has got Peter Safran, the CEO of DC Films right now with James Gunn. He's heading it with James Wan as executive producer. So we'll see how that shapes out, but that's going to be one of the things they're doing.
I'm down for a Conjuring show.
Yeah, I haven't been let down by the movies, so if anything, the movies have gotten better over time.
I just hope that they release it during October. Like, that's their shtick with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of tired of
scary
movies coming out in the beginning of the year.
Exactly, like January, February. It's like that's not the time that I want to watch spooky movies, spooky TV shows.
Yeah, like I kind of understand
in the lead up to Halloween.
Yeah, I kind of understand the movies, right? Because like by the time Halloween rolls around, they'll be out on home release. I was gonna say home video, but that's not really a thing anymore. But video on demand, streaming, blah blah blah. So I get that because then you have that access. But really, I do want to go to theaters in October and watch scary stuff.
Exactly.
But I digress. Because Evil Dead Rise does come out next weekend as of recording of this podcast. And I'm super excited about that. And I don't want to say it's a spoiler, because if you're a fan of Evil Dead movies, as I am, You do know there's a routinely a rape scene involved in it. It's referred to that as like a tree rape scene from the original 1 and 2 because of what happens in it. It's a tree that comes alive and roots and whatever, right? So I was talking to Paige the other day. I was like, I wonder how they're going to do that because like they haven't really missed that in any of them, but like this is set in like a suburban or like a town, like a city
building or something like that.
Yeah, like a multi-story complex. So I was like, how's this gonna work? Like then I was like watching the trailer and like there's flashback scenes, but I don't think those are the same characters. I think those are different characters, and it's just basically telling you the lore of where it comes from. So I was just wondering how she becomes a Deadite, right? Like how it is, and then the Evil Dead people released a promo saying, hey, tickets are available, comes out, blah, blah, blah. And it essentially shows what was what is going to be, I'm guessing, the tree rape, air quotes, scene that basically gets her infected with the Deadite. And it's going to be gnarly. I don't want to say what it is, but if you're on social media, I know Joe's not, I saw it on Twitter. It was just an ad, and it's just a still. It's not video, because that would never happen. But it's very reminiscent of what tree rape scenes look like. It just doesn't involve a tree. That's all I'll say.
I was all for going to see this movie up until this article that I actually have pulled up right now came out. And it's just that an interview with the director who says that he hopes that the movie makes you puke.
Yeah, man.
Because apparently, according to this, we had our first puker at the European premiere of the movie, and I'm hoping more of that happens.
So, all right. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, for me, myself, personally, it's going to take something extremely special to do that. Because I heard there's a movie called Raw. People are like, oh my God, I threw up watching that. I'm like, I don't understand what.
With the person wanting to eat raw flesh. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh yeah, it's so gross. It's so visceral. I'm like, bro, it's just a chick eating meat, brother. Like, it's not. I've seen some things in life that, and then for Terrifier 2, people are like, there's people passing out and vomiting in the theater. I went and saw it, and I was like, okay. You're either the most squeamish people ever, or you're not fans of gore. You know what I mean?
Well, that's my problem. I'm not fans of gore. I've watched almost all of the other Evil Dead movies. I don't think I've actually seen all of the original one, but I've seen 2, and I've seen the
2015,
the remake.
Yeah.
And I was all set to see this, and it's just like, it sounds like they want to amp up the gore in it. So I'm just like,
I just can't. I just don't know.
Not that I would sit there and throw up, but I'm just not a fan of it.
Well, because if you've ever seen, I mean, it can't be gorier than the arm ripping scene from the 2015 one.
See, I don't remember the arm ripping scene.
So the Jeep gets flipped over in the rain, and it starts raining blood and shit, and she basically hacks at her arm and then pulls it away, and it's got the tendons and fucking skin all peely gross on it, and it pulls off, and it's very visceral because you see the whole thing happen. There's the fucking licking of the rusted box cutter.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's going to be in this one.
Gets me more than the ripping of the arm off.
Oh yeah, because it's fucking slow and ridiculous.
And I think that's really what, because I've said it many a times, I just hate gore for the sake of gore, and that in there kind of is the separation of it. I don't really remember the arm ripping off scene because that has a reason for it and just happens, and that's pretty much it. Whereas the box cutter scene, like you said, is more slow and focused on something that's very uncomfortable to watch. And if it's more of that, that's what I don't like. I'm fine with the box cutter scene happening once, but the whole movie wasn't slow torture like that.
And I would almost venture to say that this one's not going to either, but I can't say that.
It probably isn't. It definitely probably isn't. This is definitely, the squeamish people, just being squeamish.
I'll say this though, the cheese grater scene's not going to be a big thing for me to be liking, because it is going to be uncomfortable to watch. Because if it's anything what the clip in the trailer shows, because it doesn't show it happen, it just shows it starting to happen. It's going to be fucking ridiculous, and I'm gonna weirdly enjoy it, but also be like, oh god, I don't like it, because I don't like handheld kitchen razor boxes of any type. I don't like cheese graters. I don't like mandolins. I
can get away with cheese graters. That's fine. It's the mandolins that are like, because you have that like slice gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter.
And they don't use the fucking hand guard.
No, you don't use the hand guard. It makes it more suspenseful.
Yeah, well...
Am I going to cut myself? Am I not going to cut myself? Let's find out. The cheese grater is a little bit different to me, because it's just like, great. It's there. I'm not going to keep going and just grating my knuckles into it. No. But the mandolin is that, like, very sharp thing that you just... Each slice could be a finger.
Yeah. I don't like it.
But I do agree. Use the guard.
Yeah, come on in. What's wrong with you people? Anyhow, so I am excited for that movie. And it does come out this next week from recording of this. But yeah, just to go back, what I was talking about is there's a tree rape scene, air quotes. It's just not a tree. Anyhow, back to the last two things that were officially announced. Well, there's a couple other things. This article didn't actually talk about everything, which I thought I had one that had everything, but I don't know where it went. I might have closed it while opening something else. Anyhow, these are the big ones that everyone kind of like was more excited about, I guess. The next one is a Big Bang Theory spin-off show. No details of what it's about. People are speculating it's old Sheldon, but who knows? I don't really care too much about it. But that was one of the big ones. And, of course, the last one of relevance to you and I, because we enjoy where it comes from, is The Penguin.
Yes.
This is... We've talked about this before. It is now we know now it's an 8-episode show based in the Matt Reeves Batman universe. So Robert Pattinson, or Robert Battinson as we call him, centric Batman. This is Colin Farrell's Penguin from the movie, and it is basically his rise to power in the underworld following the events of Batman. With the death of Falcone, and the teaser they put out is more of a hey, we're in production type thing. And there's some scenes from it in it that they've already done, but they show a couple of characters, but they're in the midst of filming right now, so we are not going to get a trailer, and it doesn't come out until 2024. So we have essentially possibly a whole year before we even see it, but it is. It looks awesome because it looks very, obviously, similar to the movie. And there's a couple scenes where there's one scene in particular that's a very Penguin-esque thing where he basically just shoots somebody and then sits there and cackles. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, buddy, I'm in. Plus, it's got a pretty awesome cast, so.
But that trailer was just Colin Farrell just chewing up scenery.
Oh yeah, dude, that whole show.
So fucking good. He's still so unrecognizable as the Penguin. Like,
yeah.
I have to remind myself that that's Colin Farrell in an actual suit and everything, and it's Colin Farrell. You know.
Yep.
I'm personally not so used to seeing him in such a dramatic role and just doing, because he's what, English, Irish. And, his accent doesn't come through really at all.
Nope.
Through it. And he's just chewing up scenery the whole entire time. It's amazing to watch and makes me excited to get more of that that universe.
Yeah, it's gonna be real fun.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the other they announced a bunch of fucking Discovery bullshit too, but I don't care about that stuff because it's all reality show nonsense. It's not really a reality show. Scripted reality show somehow. But one of the other ones they mentioned, which I watched the little teaser thing for it, and I'm not about it, is a Gremlins prequel, but it's animated.
Could be good.
It could be, but I was like, watch the teaser trailer. I didn't send it because I didn't really enjoy what I watched, but I was like, I just want another Gremlins movie, like the first one, like that
sequel?
Super horror-ish like type first one.
Right.
You know, like not
way too more comedy.
Yeah, the second one was way more comedy, blah blah blah. Which, don't get me wrong, I actually enjoyed the second one a lot, but it's definitely not the same aesthetic as the first one. And the first one just has this like really creepy eeriness to it because it's like this weird monster movie that like is off-putting and like unsettling. But you know, whatever.
I mean, you could bring it back. You definitely could.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say that Gizmo's race doesn't grow old and die. So, like, it could literally just be that you're handing down Gizmo from one generation to the next. They don't believe that he can spawn other gremlins, and hilarity ensues from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boom, I just wrote your sequel.
Boom, I just wrote your sequel. You're welcome. Let's see. We went over that one. Let's see. What else did they talk about on there?
I was trying to see some of the other trailers that you sent, but for some reason I think some of them, the links just devolved into YouTube links.
Yeah, yesterday it was being weird. I don't know if it was because I was like in and out of Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but they still just show up as YouTube. They don't show up as anything else.
Lame.
So this is the trailer for the one to watch. Thought it was really weird that you sent us a trailer for a compilation of shows.
I thought that was the one that was gonna have the Hedge Knight thing in it, but it wasn't because they didn't have a teaser for it. There's nothing filmed yet for it.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't have any. It was just a title card.
And you sent it twice. That's weird.
I sent it twice because the first one didn't. I thought I sent the wrong one, and then I realized that was just putting the link up, and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, here you go again, I guess."
I thought there was more. Because there's the Penguin, there's the Harry Potter thing.
Of the HBO ones, those are the ones I sent.
No, I thought there was something else, but I guess not.
No. I was trying to find one about. I thought they were releasing something like they did with the Harry Potter one for the Game of Thrones spinoff, but they didn't. So I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to send that.
Fair enough.
Other DC news, they gave us a cast reveal for the Creature Commandos, the first animated series coming out of the new DCU, the James Gunn, Peter Safran run company. So they obviously we have a couple returning characters from other stuff. We have Amanda Waller. We have Steve Agee coming back from his character from the Suicide Squad movie, as well as the Peacemaker show. But the big ones for the actual cast of the Creature Commandos, we have Sean Gunn will actually play or do voices of multiple roles. But the big ones will be, let's see if I find them here. Where'd it go? Hey man, what happened?
I don't know.
Oh no. Oh, here it is. Sorry. So we have David Harbour is Eric Frankenstein.
Nice.
So that's obviously there. We have Again, Sean Gunn will play Weasel, which is not much of a character for speaking roles because he doesn't really talk.
Yeah.
But he'll also be G.I. Robot, which is exactly what it sounds like. I don't know what I was going to explain G.I. Robot. I don't have to explain Eric Frankenstein either, right?
Frankenstein?
Yep.
His name's Eric?
Yeah. Frank Grillo will be voicing and playing Rick Flag Sr., who is the father of Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag Jr. We have Alan Tudyk as the voice of radioactive Batman villain Dr. I think it's pronounced Phosphorus, but I'm not too sure. But he is, if you look at the picture, he is the dude that looks kind of like the bad guy from Batman Beyond.
I like it. Alan Tudyk.
Yep. I'm always down from Alan Tudyk. Where are the other ones at? Zoe Chow will be playing or be voicing and obviously playing if she shows up in live action projects. Nina Mazurksi, I'm not too sure how to say that, but it is a basically amphibious scientist. She is, if you look at it, she's the lady with the fishbowl on her head. Pretty easy to identify from there. Amphibious. We have the Bride of Frankenstein, known as the Bride, I believe. She is voiced by Indra Varma, which I don't even know who that is. I had to look it up and I didn't look it up. So that kind of rolls out the rest of the cast of those characters. So adding to the new roles, the biggest ones would be David Harbour, Zoe Chow, Alan Tudyk, Frank Grillo, are the big ones being announced in that little article.
Cool.
So look forward to that soonish, I guess. Is this soon? Because that'll be one of the first things they release sometime in the near future. The team known as Radio Silence, people who have made a few things, Scream, the last two Scream movies. They've also done... they're making the new Escape from New York movie that's being produced by John Carpenter. They've done other things too. They did. Did you ever? You probably didn't watch it. There's a movie called Ready or Not. Did you ever watch that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that was one of their feature films. But they've done a lot of short films and other stuff. But the whole article that I'm talking about is they've been reported that they are working on a new Universal monster movie called Dracula's Daughter.
Okay.
They're famously known because they made the VHS movies. Do you remember those ones? Those anthology movies?
Yeah, that's one of the. I don't think I've seen. I've seen like parts of one of them because there was VHS 1 and VHS 2, and then your cousin.
Yeah.
Did one of them.
Yeah, Justin did one. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
They also have a new version of that coming out called VHS 85, which is going to be on the Shudder sometime soon.
Right.
So they did Devil's Due movie, and they did Ready or Not. Those were more of like the original stuff they've done. Then they did Scream, which is Scream 5, and then they did Scream 6 just recently. And then they now are reportedly working on a movie called Dracula's Daughter, which I'm going to guess is exactly what it sounds like, but it's a new Universal monster movie of some sort. So not so much details, and it's not even confirmed yet. It's just being reported by the Hollywood Reporter that they are working on that.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's all the new stuff outside of the few things that came out of. It's weird to say this because like there was a lot more stuff than just Star Wars stuff that came out of Star Wars Celebration.
Mm-hmm.
It should have just been like, I don't know why this wasn't just like a D23 type thing, like just all encompassing Disney stuff, because we got a new Peter Pan and Wendy trailer, a full length trailer for them. We got the Indiana Jones trailer the full length trailer.
Yeah.
We got the Ahsoka teaser trailer.
Marvels.
The Marvels was told that we were going to see it, and then we got it. Then there was Star Wars stuff. There was, like I said, Ahsoka was on there. The Star Wars Visions Season 2, which is their anime anthology show, came out. So it was very bizarre that we had all those things, because I know like Lucas obviously is making Indiana Jones 5, or Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Which, by the way, that trailer's so fucking good.
And so ridiculous at the same time.
Yeah, it's just, I was like, man, they are really fucking going to town on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that was on there. The Ahsoka teaser trailer doesn't give us a whole lot of plot other than the fact that she's going after Grand Admiral Thrawn, I believe is his title, the heir to the Empire, as he's known. Especially in that trailer, because that's literally what she says. Or, well, no, she says that she calls him that. Was that in the trailer, or was that from Mandalorian Season 2? I can't remember now. Doesn't matter. So it was pretty cool to see him, but also to see, like, a bunch of characters from, like, Star Wars Rebels come to life on the small screen. Mary Elizabeth Winstead plays, I can't think of her name right now. It's a Twi'lek. I can't think of the character's name. I could look it up, but I'm not going to. She's the lady with the green tentacle head, flying the ship. It's Mary Elizabeth Winstead. There's other characters too that pop up there, but like it's pretty awesome to see that they have Sith in it. There's a lot more Jedi fighting stuff in this one, which is cool. Which I guess in the Mandalorian Season 3 there's a lot more of that too with the flashback stuff. But what else was I going to say? Oh, Ray Stevenson. So I guess you could consider him the third Punisher.
I mean, yeah.
Because he was the third Punisher.
Third Punisher?
Yeah. He is in it, which is crazy. Well, not crazy, because his character wouldn't have been dead by this point. But he was in the animated shows as a character. Now he's going to be playing a Sith. Looks very much like a Sith Lord to me, but I could be wrong. In this movie, or in this show. So that's pretty cool, because he's a pretty big, imposing dude.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's terrifying. So that's pretty cool. And then we could see the back of the head of a walking Thrawn in real fucking live action, whatever you want to call it, which was like super exciting because I didn't think they were gonna show him off just yet, and we didn't really see him. We saw the closely cropped head or hair and the white suit with the blue skin. But it'll be interesting to see what he looks like, because he doesn't. His skin's all blue and his eyes are weird, so kind of exciting. Plus he's a dick, so would you really have to be if you're going to be a Grand Admiral or General Admiral or Admiral General, whatever his fucking title is in that fucking
for the Empire? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you kind of have to be. Can't really be a softie.
No.
So that was exciting. Plus there's a bunch of cool looking fight scenes that were in the teaser.
Yeah.
A lot of lightsaber thrown around. And David Tennant is in it, reprising a role he voiced in the cartoon. He's
awesome.
He's a droid who helps build lightsabers, which I believe originally, and I could be wrong about this, but originally it was a plan to have that droid at Disneyland and Disney World when you're doing the building the lightsaber, but instead they put humans in charge. I think for cost, cool. Probably, because you'd have to be up close with him. But anyways, he reprises his role as that. I can't think of the name of the droid right now. But he will be in that as well. So pretty neato burrito. What else? The Peter Pan and Wendy trailer looks a little wonky, but I think they cut costs and put it on Disney Plus. Some of the flying scenes don't look super impressive.
Oh yeah, I haven't gotten to watch it yet.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's nitpicky, but it's just like it looks very people on wires in front of green screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't, because they're, and I guess it could just be an aesthetic they went for. Like it just looked more like people floating versus actually like flying.
Right.
It's a dumb nitpick, but I was like, man, y'all should have done a better job. But we do get to see the crocodile.
That's cool.
Fucking massive, bro.
I would hope.
Bro, his head's like 12 feet long.
That's good.
Yeah, dude, it's gnarly. And of course you get fucking Jude Law's Captain Hook eating up scenery for sure with his gnarly teeth and his fucking Joe hair.
Nice.
And he has like a wrought iron hook for his hook.
That's cool.
I was like, oh, that's not sharp. That's not sharp at all.
I'll have to watch it once we're done here.
Yeah. Marvel's trailer finally told us what the fuck we're gonna be seeing in that movie.
What we're gonna be seeing, but still a bit confusing on what's happening.
Yeah, I think it's honestly, and I know people say this all the time, I do believe this is a way to introduce the force that brings us the Fantastic Four. Because there seems to be a lot of like space magic stuff going on in it. But I think it's just a way to introduce that more into the world. I don't think they're going to introduce Fantastic Four in this movie, but I think this is going to be another stepping stone. Obviously, we know they exist in the MCU because of Doctor Strange, but I think this is going to be something that helps bring that forward with the whole cosmic stuff going forward. That's the name that was the word I'm looking for when I said space magic. I was trying to think cosmic. So yeah, and to Joe's point, yeah, I have no idea what's happening in this movie, but we now know more of what's going on, like how they are bringing those three together. Because if you haven't watched the Miss Marvel show on Disney, at the end of it, spoiler alert, is actually a scene from this movie where all of a sudden Kamala is transformed into Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, and it's not explained why or how. And they show that in this movie. So something is causing their powers to be interlaced. The three different versions of Captain Marvel that are in this movie, or Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and whatever. And so how they basically go on an adventure together to probably untangle their powers and become like their own thing.
Because it kind of sucks to be sitting there in the middle of a battle, like they showed multiple times with Brie Larson's character, and just suddenly be warped out of there.
Yep. Yeah. So, I think it all stems from when what's her face Rambo went and touched the cosmic thingy. I think that's what triggered the whole thing to happen, because she switched places with Kamala, and then Kamala switched places with Captain Marvel. So, but it does show. People were like, "Oh, I guess we know what happens to Nick Fury at the end of Secret Invasion." Do we though?
Right.
Just because we saw him on a spaceship doesn't mean anything. We don't know when this takes place.
It's him. Doesn't even mean it's him.
Thank you very much, Joe.
They already established that in one of the movies. I can't remember which one right now.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, yeah, that it wasn't even him the whole entire time.
Yep. So I know in Secret Invasion, obviously, we do know it's him because he says he's returned because of the stuff that's happening. But we don't know when everything falls in place.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And also, they're not going to kill Nick Fury off like that. Like, come on, man. No. What's wrong with you?
No, they're not.
Yeah, granted, like, Samuel L. Jackson's like 94 years old now, but it doesn't matter because it's Samuel L. Jackson, dude.
Yeah. As long as he's alive, he can still do it.
Get these motherfucking Kree off my motherfucking starship. Was a Snakes on a Plane reference, Joe?
Yes, it was. Never saw the movie, but I get it.
You don't have to watch the movie, Joe. It's fucking terrible.
I'm sure it's about snakes on a plane.
Yeah, you know what? It's not to go on a weird tangent about that movie, but you know what makes that movie the worst is they try so hard to like make it like scary in a way, but it's like it's so ridiculous because it's like it's a bunch of snakes on a plane, dude. Just get off the fucking plane, like land the fucking plane. Like also like they don't explain why all these things are. It's dumb. It doesn't matter. Movie's fucking retarded. I didn't send the Muppets Mayhem trailer, did I?
No.
That one's pretty fun too. There was
a new Muppets movie.
Yeah, it's about the band, and it's set in the real world. It's actually a pretty funny trailer, and it has so. Let me talk about this before. The new iteration of Muppets really pushes like the boundaries of like appropriate jokes, like sexual innuendos and all these other things, and like this one does it also, but like more of like drug references. But it starts off the trailer. I'll tell you. You can watch the trailer afterwards, or if you want to pull it up now. It starts with an interview of Tommy Lee, like the drummer, Tommy Lee.
Yeah, that's weird.
And he talks about how like he loved partying with those dudes, and like one time that they tattooed the name of their band on his stomach, and he lifts his shirt up because he has the words Mayhem tattooed on his stomach in real life. So he says they tattooed their name on me when I passed out, and he lifts his shirt up, and I was like, okay, that's cool. That's not the edgy part. Then it explains the premise of the movie, and is the fact that the Electric Mayhem have never recorded an album. So this record producer gets this idea to produce this album because everyone wants it. And Dr. Teeth says he's like yeah, we never really got a chance to record because the 80s got ahead of us. And I was like, did you just make a drug reference? I love it. The trailer's super funny. It is gonna have human beings in it, obviously, and there seems to be like a hint of a love story between some of the humans in it, but that's par for course in these movies. But Animal fucking steals the show every time. There's a part where they're in a recording studio, or it looks like the executive's office, and there's a big neon H on the wall, and Animal turns and goes, W! And without looking, one of the band members goes, yeah, way to go, Animal! And I was like, he got it wrong. That's funny.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot of that humor in there, and it's just nonsense. But they have a lot of like music industry people in it. So Tommy Lee's in it. Little Nas X is in it.
That's who that was. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. There's like Zed, who's a DJ producer guy. Deadmau5 shows up in it. Kevin Smith.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, he's directing I think a music video of some sort, or a documentary or something. So he's in it. I mean, there's just a ton of people in it. It's ridiculous. And I was like, this looks hilarious. You have to listen with audio if you're watching right now, Joe, because it's way better.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now, and it's not doing me any service with no audio.
Yeah. Yeah, little Nas X.
They're going, oh, that's the what's his name, and that's the other dude.
Yeah.
Like there's another artist in there that I don't recognize. He's more of a country star. That's why I don't recognize him, but he's in it too.
Yeah. It's funny because like the Little Nas X part says he's like, I idolize Dr. Teeth. That's why Dr. Teeth, because that's why I got gold grill or something like that. And he smiles and points at his grill, and I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So good. So good.
Oh, Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, Cheech and Chong show up in there.
Man, they looked old.
Yeah, they are old, so.
They are. Oh, Weird Al. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you.
Oh, there's Kevin Smith. Man, it is just like cameo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all episodes streaming May 10th.
Yeah. So
it's not a movie; it's an actual streaming show.
Yep. Yeah. That's so like Paul Abdul shows up in it. Steve Aoki. I'm trying to name some names that you may actually know. Tommy Chong, Billy Corgan is in it. Deadmau5. Let's see, Morgan Freeman Let's see here. Kesha, Tommy Lee, Little Nas X, Cheech Marin, obviously, Ziggy Marley, Kristen Stahl, which you saw in there, Ben Schwartz, which you probably saw in there, Ryan Seacrest, Kevin Smith, Chris Stapleton is the guy you saw, the country guy. Okay, you saw in there, Danny Trejo, Weird Al Yankovic, and Zed. I don't know if you know who that is, but I mentioned it already. He's in there. But there's other people too that you like. You may not know by name, but when you see him, like, oh, that person.
Yeah, no, there were a couple of faces. I was like, I think I know him from Avenue 5 or something like that. He looks like one of the guys from that show. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then it just it made me laugh because like Anders Holmes from Workaholics is in it.
Yes, that was another guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. What else? I think that was pretty much it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Well, I did send a trailer this morning. You should watch to Fool's Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie written and directed by Charlie Day. I guess it's one of the last performances Ray Liotta did before he passed away.
Okay.
But it's the Prince and the Pauper essentially, if you know that story.
Yeah.
But you have to watch it because it's like there's Charlie Day plays two people. That's the Prince and the Pauper part, and one of them he does not talk. There's no lines. It's bizarre. It's wild, but it's pretty funny.
Okay. So I mean, I'm down for Charlie Day stuff. So
yeah. And it's funny because like, his wife is in it. If you don't know who his wife is, she plays the waitress in Sunny.
Yeah.
So she's in it. It's pretty hilarious. But anyhow, that's all I had. Unless Joseph has anything.
I got nothing.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. Then this has been Comes Naturally, and we have been
Joe.
I have been Cody, and as usual, you fuckers just came naturally.
Bye.